Forbes India Small Business Summit, presented by PhonePe Payment Gateway.
The topic today is empowering MSMEs to think big and scale up. Let me start with something that we all know. Rapid digitalization and increasing financial inclusion has reshaped business models for MSMEs and enabled new opportunities for growth and expansion. Vishal, let me start with you. How do you make them, how do you see them making the most of this? What new growth opportunities do MSMEs have today that they did not have before?
The beauty of our country right now is that there are some phenomenal players who are providing you SaaS-based or subscription monthly, daily, these kinds for almost every task. When you look at even today a Kirana store, he can also have a very value for money product which helps him with his invoicing, his ordering, his inventory management, and then linked with things like, PhonePe. The success of UPI has been phenomenal, and I think a lot of credit goes into the kind of ecosystem that the government created. So when we look at the solutions that are available today, it's only about you being able to adopt them. It's not whether they're affordable or not. That's already a given. It's about how much you're able to open your mind and adopt. I think the adoption part is still the challenge in especially the micro and small. It's a mindset issue, not a availability issue.
But also in terms of increasing the customer base, that's huge, right, today?
The challenge with customer base is that, again, you're relying on your digital partners. Each one has a cost factor to it. So if today you look at the food delivery space, today a lot of restaurateurs are absolutely dependent on the food aggregators who are there. It's a two-horse race. So, it's not, after some time it becomes a challenge in the reverse way. So customer acquisition is always going to be there. Flyers traditionally to right now, your Zomato space. So that's a very subjective thing. I mean,
Okay.
that comes with its own sets of pros and cons.
Yeah. All right, understood. Rujita, let me now come to you. What does it mean for an MSME to think big? And how can small companies adopt this mindset? And how can also technology help, in bringing this mindset?
Thank you so much, Shruti, for this. Ours is a classic case of a absolute MSME started back in the day, about 56 years ago, by my father, who's the first generation. I'm a second
Over a
generation.
5-decade-old company, I
Yes,
believe. Yeah.
absolutely. So it was, of course, a one man's dream, and he traveled the path less traveled because he got, in fact, he was an alumni from COEP and got 100% scholarship to do his master's in the US. He gave it all up, and he started this business as an import substitution opportunity back in the day. And there was no looking back, and it's been 55 years. So a man with absolutely no business background. My grandfather was a school teacher and then a school principal, and my father's the 8th child amongst 8 children. And so there's no business background per se, no financial background either. So, I mean, as you see, there is absolutely nothing impossible, and if you pursue your dreams, there's nothing that can stop you, and that is a classic example. So I completely give credit of what we are and where we are to my father. And I think that's the beginning of, a small MSME getting into this,
Sure.
big dream. But I think some pointers that I'd like to just touch upon. I think one aspect is, of course, dreaming big and pursuing your dreams. Having a long-term vision, which is very important, because a lot of times in the Western world, we see a lot of companies start up, but then they don't have any succession. So obviously there is an exit and they sell off. But in India, the mindset is different. There is obviously succession, and companies are built to carry on. And that is something that, long-term visions serve that purpose as well. Having long-term visions, having a global footprint with the long-term vision is very important as well. I think a growth mindset, very, very important, because what has happened, we can't rest in the laurels of the past, what my father did in the pioneering work that he did. So we need to obviously diversify, expand into related and unrelated domains, which we did. And so now, as we see, we started off with ICE testing solutions. Now we're doing EV testing solutions as well. So growth mindset is very, very critical. Networking collaboration is extremely important and crucial for MSMEs to actually think big and tread that path. Because without networking and collaborations, which are in line with your vision, it's very difficult. You may saturate at some point. So I think it's very important to have that mindset and not shy away from that. So that is something we think is extremely important. And if you don't embark on that journey, you will perish. So that is a very clear message. So I think some pointers there.
Very valuable points there, Rujita. And, continuing with thinking big and how can MSMEs, shift from a survival mode to a growth mindset. Like Rujita mentioned, Mr. Hari Srivastav, how do MSMEs today, they need to shift from this survival mindset to, like she said, growth-oriented mindset. And how do they do that?
You see, the basic question, we are start talking that MSME to move from survival to growth. Now, when you look at MSME, say about 95% MSMEs, they are micro. You look at the figure, anywhere, pan India, Maharashtra, you will find that 95% industries are micro out of this MSME. The small scale and medium scale will fall in rest 5 to 6%. So when we are talking about this 95%, it means we are talking about the people who are between 1 crore to 5 crore of turnover. Now, these people who are having their entrepreneur, most of them, they are CEO, they are COO, they are CFO, they are CHRO, all rolled into one. These are owner-driven organization. They perform the role of a COO, they perform the role of a CFO, they perform the role of CHRO, and everybody.
Correct.
So when you say that these people have to be moved from 1 to 5 to 5 to 50, and 5 to 50 have to move from 50 to 250, then we have to create that ecosystem where they are able to grow. Okay. So that has its own set of challenges.
Correct.
So unless you create that ecosystem and you think that they will move from survival to growth, it will be a wishful thinking.
So I understand what you're trying to say. There are a whole set of challenges that lie there. But then what needs to be done? You say it's wishful thinking, but if we have to do this, what needs to change?
Say, if I have to basically describe in major 3 points, okay, I have to say first the credit access. Okay. So when you say the credit access, in that, if you look at the total scenario, you will be surprised to know less than 40% of MSMEs are having any formal line of credit. Okay. So they have to be brought on board to basically they are getting the credit from the formal route. So for that, maybe cooperative banks, cutting edge level bank, they need to get involved in providing them the credit. Second, the working capital. If you look at the figure, it's staggering. Huge amount of working capital is blocked. Government did take the step of amending the IT Act that if you are not paying to MSME in 45 days, you will not be allowed to write off that expenses or take expenses. But that has its own set of challenges. It is becoming counterproductive in certain way, and a lot of MSMEs are complaining on that aspect as well. Third is subsidies. When every state government, everywhere, you have subsidies and the incentives which are given to this sector. But the entire process of giving those subsidies and incentives, etc., need to be in a seamless manner.
Let me come to you now, Shantanu. The role of creativity and innovation, I want to touch upon that. It is a process for survival. Businesses are becoming more knowledge-based. Their success and, survival is directly related to their creativity, their innovation, their inventiveness. Shantanu, how crucial is it for MSMEs today to imbibe, innovation in their day-to-day working?
So the quick points I want to make is creativity, innovation, and in addition, competitiveness and sustainability are at premium. But leadership belongs to the disruptors. This may have premium, but leaders are the people who will bring in disruption. Taking the same point forward, there is a study in Scandinavia. There are in fact 2 studies, one country and all 4 Scandinavian countries. Sustainability is very high in Scandinavian countries, highest in the world, even more than French and German. Innovation and education is extremely high. Their focus on what we call today, which I don't necessarily believe is work-life balance, is extremely high. But their study shows that in spite of all these things, their entrepreneurship and leadership is less. They found that the disruption, leadership and entrepreneurship in USA is much higher. And why is it much higher? What they found is America celebrates innovation, and America celebrates entrepreneurship. They don't look down upon failures. In fact, venture capitalists, a failure is a qualification because they feel you learn more out of failures than you learn out of successes. So that outlook is more critical than anything else, the ecosystem. And if we look in India, there is a parallel. We have so many communities. When we say India, we are a group of communities and sub-communities. The communities which celebrate failure, which celebrate success, are the most successful communities in the business. The communities with higher failure, acceptance for failure, are more successful. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to bring back to the point that we were talking about innovation and how it's become so crucial now to kind of incorporate in everyday working. And Supriya, I must get your point here that the bigger question is how can MSMEs balance the need for innovation with the limitations of their resources, because they don't have what the bigger companies or the MNCs have. So how do they incorporate innovation but with limited resources?
So what I feel is like they are more agile, they are more experiment oriented, and they have flexibility to adapt technology. So with this, all these things, they are more progressing on product development, new product technologies, new processes, and even new business models also. So no one has thought that Zomato and even Swiggy kind of things, they can do wonders in recent time. There's a different business model, and even Ola, Uber, they have created magic for all of us. Yes, balancing makes them somewhat more challenging because they have limited funds, they have limited infrastructure, and maybe they have sometimes talent acquisition becomes a major challenge for them, retention becomes sometimes challenge for them. But looking at this growth dream, they are adopting many technologies like Google Small Business Forum, then AWS, maybe Microsoft, and this is all with AI with this technology, they are balancing this innovation.
So technology has come to the rescue for MSMEs for
absolutely.
sure. Let me now go across to Ashish and let me talk to you about your sector. How is the rapidly expanding logistics and the warehousing capacity in Pune and across India unleashing new growth opportunities for MSMEs? And also tell us, how are you innovating at DTDC?
First of all, I'll say like Pune, you all must be knowing is a education hub. So this is I would say this is the best advantage that is that logistic industry is growing in Pune at the best pace, because the skilled mindset that we require is easily found in Pune, Mumbai, and whole of Maharashtra, if I'll say. But Pune being the education hub, it's very easy to get those skilled mindset, and that's why Pune is the most vibrant and the most, I'll say, the success industry into logistics. If we talk about DTDC, I'll say like DTDC has around 96% of reach to population. So in Maharashtra, we have reached all the remote locations, every pin code we are covering. So Pune, yes, like you rightly said, Pune is the best growing industry in logistics sector.
All right, let me go across to Shantanu once again. And so I was talking to you about innovation. If you could give us some examples of small companies that have successfully used innovation to think big and, of course, to then grow.
We have a live example in Pune, very popular name in Pune, Dr. Anand Deshpande, Persistent System. In fact, I was discussing with a lot of panelists over here because I know them and they know my father and we know them for a long time, and same with Anand. When he came to India, there were just 5 people. And it was a small office with 5 people. And I asked him, what's your expertise? And as their name suggests, it is management of databases. They were the best in management of databases, and they created a lot of innovations in management of databases. But what is very important is from those 5 doctorates and postdoctorate researchers, they created a ecosystem, and what innovation can have multiple dimensions, means apart from technology innovation, what study he did is also innovative, is when you are a company of 5, what is the leadership style? When you are a company of 25, when you are a company of 100, 500, 1,000, then 5,000 and then 10,000. So every time the size has changed, he has innovated his model and his own work, other than innovation he does in software.
All right, okay. Now let me touch upon a topic that Mr. Hari had started, sir, but I'm going to ask Vishal and then come back to you. As promised, we're going to delve deeper into what you just said. The most basic problem MSMEs face is credit line, a formal credit line. How can small companies position themselves to attract more investment and, of course, fuel their growth plans, their expansion plans, Vishal?
Everyone wants to grow. Okay, at least they desire to grow. The main thing is each one here knows their own problems. Okay, everyone here who's an entrepreneur or even who's working in a company, in an MSME or otherwise knows the problems. The real challenge basically starts with firstly is a mindset. When you imbibe in them, in ethos, when you imbibe in them that you are doing something good and you are saving, that saving leads to monetary savings. So while you are doing your bit for the environment, you're also doing a bit for your pocket. And if your pocket improves, which is your bottom line, you are going to get better credit, better investment support, because everybody wants to grow. Tomorrow you put up a small little restaurant on Zomato, Swiggy, and you sell. But what left in your pocket after working like a donkey? So each entrepreneur here, if I would say, first we have to look at our mindset. Just because you've adopted a technology does not mean that that's the end all. Every 2 years or 3 years, you have to revisit your decision. You have to look at, is there something better? Can I renegotiate my terms? Can I look at, again, as you're expanding, when you get new acquisition of talent, you have to bear that cost. Many of us fail to say that नाही नाही अजून मी माणसं घेतली मी कसं त्यांना माणसं नाही घेतली तर तुम्ही वाढवणार कसं हे विचार करा हे विचार नका करा तिथे भार आहे ते बघायचं की घेतल्यानंतर हाऊ विल दॅट पर्सन डू सो the real crux of any of our problems lies in the mindset and the willingness to face that and not just live in a stagnant situation. I'd just like to end by saying, the CEO of Nokia broke down in front of the world and he said, we did nothing wrong, but we just didn't do anything. And that's how basically Nokia, BlackBerry, which were the staple globally, failed. So it's not an MSME issue. It's a business issue. And I think mindset is that one panacea for all our problems.
All right, while Vishal says mindset, one needs to change our mindset. Shantanu, I want to ask you about the various financing options that are there for MSMEs, for their support, growth. What are the best options available for their ambitions?
Well, to begin with, if at all there is one mistake I have made, is not an act of commission but act of omission, which is we didn't take half chances and we never borrowed. Today, looking back, I feel I would take quarter chances also and I will start borrowing or taking somebody else's money to run the business, because that is something that makes you scalable. Now, financing options are numerous. They start from partnering with someone to borrowing money from bank to venture capitalists. I can't say one is better than other. I think what suits your appetite, what suits your nature. But one thing which is less talk about, I would like to place here, is for someone who is starting new or growing very big, having venture capitalist and a good venture capitalist as a financer is good, not for the money he brings in, but more for the knowledge, contact he brings. And what I have seen in case of at least 3 customers, they have helped them to increase their market. Some of the packing companies didn't have market in South, and this financer brought them market in South and a global vision. So I believe when we think of financing options, we have to go beyond the interest rate. You have to go for mindset and what else the financer brings in for you.
All right, so he completely agrees with you on the mindset issue. Uh, Rujita, let me come to you now. How can MSMEs build a strong brand that, recognizable brand that stands out from the crowded marketplace that we have? When it comes to small scale businesses, they often have these issues of lack of money, time, skilled employees. It makes it difficult to increase visibility in the sense and generate quality leads. So, how can MSMEs do that? Make recognizable breakout brands?
Yeah, that is extremely, of course, challenging. But for us, one advantage was we sort of had the first mover advantage in India because, as I mentioned, this company was started as an import substitution opportunity. Therefore, in India, there was no indigenous brand which was there. So when we started off, it was like Xerox was synonymous with copiers. Similarly, actually, dynamometers. So Saj was synonymous with dynamometers back in the day. So that was a very strong brand that was built by my father. And that was obviously because being the first mover advantage, and of course, it comes with a lot of reliability, a lot of product quality, and everything. Of course, that is a given when it comes to brand building. You have to have the best quality, the best reliability, longevity, everything. That is a given. And I think engaging on social media platforms which are relevant to you. We are a B2B company. We're not a B2C. So not all social media platforms are applicable to us. So we obviously, as I mentioned, B2B for us would be exhibitions, fairs, maybe some LinkedIn, some social media platforms. So choose the right platform which
Right,
is relevant to
yeah.
your business. And I think go all out there for it because that's extremely crucial. And I think it's very important to obviously have the customer experience and engage with the customer, get feedback on a real-time basis,
Absolutely.
understand their needs because needs are dynamic, right? I mean, what my strategy was back in 5 decades ago, 2 decades ago, it's all different. Every time the market demands are different, and you have to be proactively working with the customer, understanding their requirements, and coming out with products in line with the customer requirements. And that is what we did, and therefore we could. I mean, very few companies actually survive more than so long.
Yeah.
And we are the second generation, and we're already in our 56th year. I think that is the strategy which sort of worked well for us. And of course, investing in marketing, as I said, even if the resources were scarce, we always believed in actually investing heavily into marketing for our niche space that we're into, and being the capital goods space, mechatronics space. I think we did have mushrooming competition, though we were a monopoly in the beginning for almost 2 decades. But then after liberalization, we had the overseas competition coming in. We had
Yeah.
our own mushrooming domestic competition coming in. So we obviously had to combat those competitors with our marketing
Yeah.
strategies, and I think that worked in our favor. So I think
All right, so
these are some.
very valuable points made, and I would like to kind of sum up them for our audience because everybody wants to be ambitious, build breakout brands, and that is to have a clear value proposition. All right, picking up from like she also mentioned that MSMEs now are looking at global aspirations as well and not just domestic. Ashish, how can MSMEs in Pune expand their reach within India to the neighboring states, go global, and what role will a logistic company like yours play?
I think the best part of Pune is we are the neighboring city of Mumbai. So we have access to all the corporate offices, all the corporate companies. Those who have offices in Mumbai. So we can very easily collaborate with them. The MSMEs can collaborate with them, and collaboration with the right leader in the market would definitely bring them. Take them along. Like if we talk about DTDC, last year, what the best thing that we have did, we shifted a corporate office from Bangalore to Mumbai. So this was the need of the hour that all the companies were shifting their corporate offices to Mumbai. We had the easy access. All those decision makers were sitting in Mumbai. So like we had a recent collaboration with Aramex for global tie-ups. We are using Aramex services. They are using our warehouses in India for warehousing and all those facilities. So this collaboration can only bring the best in MSMEs.
Absolutely. Very valid point made there on collaboration. Mr. Hari, let me come to you. And we were speaking of reaching new markets. How can MSMEs utilize technology to reach broader markets? And how can MSMEs leverage these digital technologies, these digital platforms to access to larger audiences, both locally and globally?
As you know, there are a lot of platforms available today. You have e-commerce, you have social media, you have growth engines, and the other things are all there. and the MSMEs will be immensely benefited by using this platform. And they have to use. There is no other go. Because unless you use, you will be left behind. So you have to use. That is the order of the day. But the point, raw point, which on which I'm going to take point is that we have to make them capable of using this technology. So unless they are made capable of using this technology, they will not be able to take advantage of this and they will be left behind. I will give you a live example of my chamber per se. You see, the Chamber of Commerce issue this certificate of origin, which is one of the important documents for any exporter. So only the notified Chamber of Commerce can issue the certificate of origin. About 8 or 9 years ago, one gentleman called me up from US and he said, look here, whatever certificate of origin you are issuing physically, we can do it online and this is the platform. And so I said, look here, unless it is provided in the foreign trade policy, and foreign trade policy says that you have to provide a certificate of origin on a paper, how can I do that? That I'm talking about 9, 10 years ago. But later on, maybe about 7 years or 8 years ago, the government of India changed that. But still, I had not looked at it actively. But then when the COVID came, okay, and COVID brought its own set of challenges. Our offices were closed, okay, and but the factories were allowed to run as the essential services. Exports were allowed to take place as the essential services. People started saying, sir, how do I get the certificate of origin? Because that is required at the customs there. And then I said, we have to basically, during the COVID, somehow get onto this line and get this certificate of origin issued online. So worked, and in 2, 3 months of time, maybe by beginning of by beginning of January 21, we basically rolled this out. People started using, and then maybe by 23, government said no. Now we will issue only online, and physical will be stopped.
Absolutely. We understand that. And of course, but we cannot, I mean, I understand the capability aspect, but we all know that, MSMEs have grown, and how they've grown is due to technology. And when we are speaking of technology, we can't leave artificial intelligence behind. AI requires domain expertise. And in Pune, being a manufacturing hub, possesses invaluable domain knowledge that can significantly benefit. So, I want to ask you a very straight question. Do you believe Pune has all the necessary elements to become the AI hub?
What stops any place from becoming a hub wherever someone takes that as a passion and dwells into it? I mean, why Pune? Anywhere can. And that's the beauty of technology, that you might be a small country, a nobody country, but if your people take upon that task and dwell into it, then even a sand becomes a Dubai.
But
So
I'm asking you specifically about Pune, considering we're here.
nothing stops Pune from becoming. And it would be my pleasure as the chairman of Maharashtra to have the IT hub. It's not just the outsourcing, not just the manufacturing, but so let me be very honest and tell you something. Okay, I don't know much about AI, but that doesn't mean I don't take an interest. A good entrepreneur is one who doesn't need to know necessarily how to do it himself, but he should know the process, he should know the work, and he should be able to get it done from someone. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Why? I will go at night, especially, see the videos, see the things. But have I got the patience? Have I got the time to go and sit and do it? No. So I'll give you a practical example and something which Rutuja also said, about use of the technology particularly. So we all nowadays use a website with a chat bot on it. Now the chat bot is a Dumbo. You tell him apple, he will tell you apple. You tell him banana, he will tell you banana. But now comes in AI, where if you tell him something apple, he'll tell you how to make a fruit salad. So the chat bot has become extremely intelligent and very, very flexible. So I found out one very interesting chatbot, and it's there on our website of Orchid Hotel, and I was not able to understand how to implement it. So I sat with my team, and what was my contribution? My contribution was to train the chatbot, was to train the AI by asking it all the stupid questions that people ask me. I typed it into that, like simple things like, can I bring my dog? Now, in Corona, Orchid Hotel, Fort Jadavgarh, all these were pet friendly, but now they are not. But I had put in that, can I put a dog? So I just out of curiosity said, can I bring my snake? So literally the chatbot said, sorry, we are not a pet friendly hotel. So I was very impressed with the chatbot. So getting it done is more important than knowing how to do it yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think each one needs to see how you can and apply. And Instagram is a big guru, by the way. Instagram Reels, it's like a matches. वो लगाओ और उसको then how then मशाल बनवायची ते तुमच्या कला आहे.
Supriya, what are the common barriers? Mr. Hari mentioned, the capabilities not being there. Is there a serious need of upskilling people?
One more thing I just want to add, Mr. Srivastav, is like they don't, the funding and investments in high capex are some of the barriers for adapting technologies. And but now overall at domestic level, at national level, the scenario for industry is more conducive, and I think lot many facilities, incentives, and for R&D, research, technology is been provided by government, like Startup India, then Digital India, Make in India. So these are the various platforms available for technology adoption. So I think one must adopt this platform. Technology has to be adapted, has to be taken as a challenge. And for scalability, yes, every technology can play a bigger role. And yes, MSMEs can have a better future with technology.
Absolutely. And let me now come to the final topic that I would like to discuss on the panel, and it is to address the need for policy interventions to bolster Pune's startup ecosystem. The government support plays, of course, a pivotal role in nurturing fledgling enterprises, particularly in domains like AI applications. Now that we are talking about environmental solutions, sustainability is a new issue. What kind of support, Shantanu, is already there, and what more needs to be done? And we'll end with each one of you answering that. Yeah, Shantanu, go first.
Yeah, I've been doing policy advocacy for 30 years, but I want to end it on a lighter note. In 90s, there used to be a joke. The biggest success we had as a country was in IT and in beauty. Our girls were doing extremely well in Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss Asia Pacific. And the reason that was attributed is we never had Ministry of Beauty and we didn't have Ministry of IT then. So perhaps one policy intervention is leave us alone. I think that's something which makes things successful.
Leave us alone. That's the first panelist. Yes, Supriya.
Now means like day by day the regulatory compliances are increasing drastically. Means like most of the time of coming budding entrepreneurs is going in addressing these regulatory compliances. But when you look at the business ecosystem, yes, all these policies and regulatory compliances are required also. So what I mean to say, like the key regulatory or policy changes needed to ensure MSCBs is that they should be given more training, more financing facility to understand, to learn. Means like the government can create education portals which will be compulsory, maybe which will not compulsory, but which will be more prone to adapt this learning and education, and they can adapt that education and learning to their day-to-day activities.
All right. Yeah. Vishal.
Shantanu Bhavu is very correct. If this was the same government of the 90s, we would have required exactly that. But fortunately, right now, we have a very progressive, focused government where multiple individual departments who are doing their own things. See, ultimately, everybody wants progress. But earlier, every department was in its own silo. Now what you find is that there is a combination of effort where multi-departments are working together. We are unfortunately a race of people who need a lot of regulation. And a lot of the rules and regulations right now that are formulated are because of people like CII, ASSOCHAM, FICCI, all coming from their various perspectives, coming with a white paper, and the government listening and acting on it.
Yeah.
If today we have the kind of progress we've seen, it is only because we have government right now who is genuinely working like a knife's edge and not like a butter knife. So then only can you cut the market and grow. Otherwise, you would not have seen this phenomenal growth. And I think, a platform like PhonePe and various others are an example of that. That if it wasn't that, to sum it to example of actual anecdote, the finance minister of Germany said that for us to come to a situation of the UPI will take us 8 to 10 years. They cannot, they're supposed to be a developed nation. And in America, it's impossible because the laws don't allow it and the infrastructure doesn't allow it. So when you think that if today our success is because government has left us alone, that's also not true. We've been part of the government and government has been part of us. And that is what will make this a 20, 30, 100 trillion economy.
Absolutely. Wonderfully put. So the government is listening. Mr. Srivastava, but what more do you want it to listen?
See, I would basically start with the answer given by Mr. Kamath. Number one, if I say that no progress has taken place in this aspect, I will be wrong. The progress has definitely taken place. What we were 15, 20 years ago, today we have made much of the progress. But a lot need to be done. What Mr. Kamath said about single window, I'm talking about here. In 2023, Government of Maharashtra pronounced an act, Trade and Investment Facilitation Act 2023. Now, under that, a single portal was responsible. Of course, people are making application there, but under the portal, the Office of the Development Commissioner was empowered to have a committee. If any department is not issuing a particular permission or license, they were empowered to overrule and issue those licenses, etc. Now that you will not believe this act was notified in 2023. We are at the end of 2024. Still, it is not seeing the light of the day. It's still remaining there. So likewise, what I am saying, say today, if you are going to establish a company, okay, you will automatically get your ESI and PF number. It is automatically coming. It is linked. If you establish a company, ESI and PF number will be coming. When your number are reaching 20 and 10, you start paying and start doing the compliance. But your number comes. I say, the moment micro or small scale industry has put in the application, give that license, give that permission. Post facto verification you can always do. Don't hold that. Don't hold that. Give him.
Absolutely.
And you can do the post facto verification, whatever is telling correct or not correct. Second thing is, have a DigiLocker for the document also. You have a DigiLocker for us. Now where we can store our all the documents you can pull from the respective ministry. If a micro or a small or any industry he has applied, the permission has been given, it is there in the DigiLocker. Any other department wants, they can pull that document from there. They don't have to ask you that, okay, give me this document, give me that document.
Hopefully.
Every time you take the copy, again load. Second thing I am saying, giving you example of passport issuing. 20 years ago, when you went to a passport office for getting the passport issued, what was your experience and what is your experience today?
Absolutely. The timeline has reduced
Why?
significantly.
Why?
It's
Why?
single window clearance,
No.
verification
What has
is happening
happened?
later.
What has happened? That 20 years ago, the passport offices were run exclusively by the government. Today, the government officers are the nodal officers. The entire passport offices are run by way of public-private partnership. All the people are running this. That's how you see it. You are entering into the passport office after taking the appointment online, and in 2-3 hours you are out. And third day the passport is there. The whole credit goes to that public-private partnership.
So I have quick 4 pointers. I'll make it keep it crisp. So basically, one is cash flows are extremely crucial for MSMEs to grow and to also survive. So the 45-day payment term mandate that was given by the government has not been implemented. Obviously, MSMEs are still being arm twisted into actually accepting the payment terms by government in their tenders, or for that matter, in the private organizations' payment terms as well. So the 45-day term has to be very, very clearly implemented by putting it as a mandate in the tender as well as in the OEM's payment terms, because currently that is not happening. Unless that happens, it will never be implemented. So that is one which I would appeal to the government to do, that extremely important step, to have that as the only payment term for MSMEs. Otherwise, it's just on paper and it will never ever happen. The other very important aspect is there's EPC actually used to, have a lot of subsidies and incentives given to MSMEs to participate in global fairs and, even international fairs, which was very important, because the more, as I said, marketing is extremely important. So that kind of subsidy is again very, very, to very limited exhibitions, it's applicable. So I think it should be that scope should be broadened. The government should actually have all the relevant exhibitions covered under that, and MSMEs should get that benefit of incentives and subsidies for participating. Only then they can actually make a global footprint. I think that is very, very crucial. The third one is cluster approach, where there used to be lean clusters and sustainability clusters. So there, it was done by the government. In Pune itself, there was, I'm on the board of MCCI for the last 8 years. So we did that in collaboration with the government, where lean clusters, so lean practices were implemented in the organizations through government subsidies again. So it was a cluster approach actually adopted by the government. Many companies benefited, but then it stopped. So I think it should be ongoing, because very few have availed those benefits, and there is a huge amount of MSMEs which are left out. So I think the government can definitely, continue with that for the benefit of the industries. So similarly, sustainability clusters, lean clusters, where MSMEs can embark on the journey of these best practices with, of course, a much more subsidized, outflow. And the last one, there is, again, through the chamber, we had done this women clusters, where collaborative workspaces, not for services, and I'm talking about manufacturing collaborative workspaces, which are called clusters again. So there's, government subsidizes, actually government gives the land and the infrastructure, and the different micro MSMEs can actually avail, common services there, including, all kind of maybe finances and manufacturing and accounting and marketing, all of those can be common facilities can be availed. And that way they're subsidized and they can start off and scale up eventually. Okay. So I think these 4 important initiatives were announced by the government, but haven't been continued and haven't really been implemented completely. So that's my appeal.
Final words, Ashish, and I would want you to keep it really crisp.
I would just say one thing, like being a business head of one of the leading logistic organizations, I have sometimes a privilege to interact or meet all the key persons of all the industries, any industry. So one sought after the one thing that they all are waiting for, like Rutuja rightly said, the 45 days payment. So when we sit in the cabin with them, so this is the most talked thing.
All right.
So
very well said, very valuable points. Thank you, panelists, for being so candid and for your valuable insights. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you all. Thank you.
Forbes India Small Business Summit, presented by PhonePe Payment Gateway.